Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Chris Lopez here. I want to welcome you to our Southern Colorado Real Estate Investing Guide for the summer of 2023. So we're going to dive into trends, deals, and stuff you know about the Pueblo market and the Colorado Springs market. We have investors doing deals down there, and we're going to talk about them. And so I'm very happy to announce my co-host on here, Jenny Bayless, who a lot of you know with Advisors, hosting the Colorado Springs Investing Podcast. How are you, Jenny?
I'm doing great. How about you, Chris?
Doing very good. And, for those that don't know you, Jenny, you've been investing in the Springs, I think, since 2014? 2016. And that's where the vast majority of your portfolio is. You've done some out-of-state stuff that worked out well and have just totally focused on Springs. Recently started doing some deals in Pueblo. So this is what I like to do, is always like to bring in experts in the submarkets. And Jenny is an investor herself with over 10 rental properties that she self-manages some. She's an amazing agent down there. She also works with Leah on our team to help investors do a lot of deals. So we're very fortunate having the studio, Jenny. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I'm excited to be here and kind of just get everyone caught up to date with what we're seeing in the market for those two submarkets. So.
Yes, and we're going to start diving into stuff. And you guys have questions, type them in the chat box. We will be answering the questions on there. And so feel free to put your questions on there. All right, so for the agenda, Jenny, what are we covering today?
All right, so we're going to just go into a couple of investment concepts refreshers. We're not really going to dive into that or the financing methods, other than kind of highlighting what we're seeing people using down in the Springs and Pueblo. But we did want to give a little glossary for people to kind of go back and focus on things that they want to learn more about. And then we're going to go into the actual market overviews of the two submarkets, Colorado Springs and Pueblo. And then we're going to go into the strategies that Envision clients are actually doing. So these are real deals that our clients have done, and we're going to cover the details on them. So showing people what in today's market, constantly changing, still high price, high interest, all that good stuff. We're still seeing deals.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that, this is what everyone knows. Hey, what's the market doing? And are there still good deals out there?
Yep.
So we'll go on the data and show you some deals that have been purchased in the last, 90 days or so?
Yeah.
Yep. So real-time stuff, people, as far as real-time for real estate can get.
I don't think my keyboard's working here.
There you go.
There we go. Okay. So yeah, here's the lingo. Just use this as a glossary for yourselves. But, some of these terms are going to be used throughout this episode. So go ahead and refer back to it if you're fuzzy on any of them. And then again, our analyses focus on the 4 returns of real estate. So we're going to talk about appreciation, cash flow, debt pay down, and tax benefits to it in very high level terms. But we like to have a holistic approach for all of our investment properties.
Yeah, and if anyone out there is not familiar with the 4 returns on there, let us know. We have some great detailed information out there that goes into the breakdown of those 4, because a lot of people are very familiar with cash flow, but that is just one piece of the puzzle. And in terms of like long-term wealth creation, it is not the most important piece a lot of times when you're buying the property.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. I can't remember who, but I was saying
we have this conversation a lot.
Yeah, and just kind of highlighting that I've made way more, I guess, paper money via equity than I have cash flow throughout my entire portfolio and investing career. So I'm sure you're probably the same way on that.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
It's also kind of the reality of the market we're in, is that, some markets have no appreciation and cash flow. And, fortunately out here for many years, we've had cash flow and appreciation. And especially down in Pueblo, we're still seeing pretty strong cash flow, which is amazing at 7% plus interest rate.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the first part, before we dive into the actual analyses themselves, I think it's important to kind of discuss some of our inputs that we consider when we're running, our analyses on the properties. So we need to talk about vacancy. That's going to be the point in time in which, your property has a turnover or no one living in it and paying rent, basically. So, we use 5%. I've personally seen less than that in Colorado Springs. We're seeing that be a little bit more right now based on some discussions with property managers down in Pueblo. So I would maybe run that maybe today, because we're in late summer, maybe about 8% on that.
For like for seasonality, but for the year, would you still keep it at 5%?
I think 5% could be pretty good for the spring. But we're seeing our PMs tell us informally, like, yeah, we're seeing that vacancy rate tick up a little bit.
Okay.
So probably due to school, like we normally see. Property management, we just use a flat 10%. You might be able to negotiate better, but let's just use 10% just to hit the average there. And then repairs and reserves. So this is, everyone has their own opinion as to how this should be handled. Like, you need to at least put this amount that we have in here as a guideline. So, condo and townhome, 5%. Typically, the HOA handles a lot of the exterior items, maintenance, grass, that sort of thing for condos and townhomes. So it's a little bit lower. But detached homes and multifamilies, I think you at least need 8 to 10% for these types of properties, because as a landlord, you're responsible for more things. If you feel better bumping that up a little bit, go ahead. Whatever makes you feel comfortable, but just don't make a deal work and put 0 for these inputs. That's kind of what we want to highlight there. And then insurance. Check with your insurance agent, but these are typically the ranges that we've been seeing for both markets. Basically, condo and townhome, those are going up quite a bit, about $800 to $1,500 a year for that. Detached homes, about $15,000 to $2,000, and then multifamily, those have exploded in my observations. Like,
in the last year.
Yeah, I was at 2,000 for both my multifamilies last year, and now they've bumped up to about 3,500. Yeah, so there's really not an economies of scale when it comes to insurance at this point in time. So
no, but we're seeing, insurance all across the board.
Yeah,
Colorado, Florida, wherever it's bumping up. Just be glad you're not in the mountains right now.
Yeah.
They're gonna play more.
Yeah, so whatever you thought you were gonna get, just add some to it. And then taxes. The best way to do this is go to the public records, your assessor for that county, and look up what next year's taxes are going to be, because they've all gone up.
Yeah, they've all gone up, and do not trust what's in the MLS data, I would say, because a lot of people are still listing last year's taxes, either on purpose or inadvertently. But I agree, go to the assessor's website and see for yourself.
Okay, so some financing methods. Again, this is kind of basically a little glossary of some of the financing methods that we've been seeing. I'm excited to kind of talk about some of the less frequently used over the last several years. So DSCR is one. We're going to do an actual case study that uses that type of loan. We typically saw conventional over the last several years just because the rates were so low, but we are going to, see one property that has that, and then, of course, an owner-occupied property as well. So real estate investment strategies. We've seen a big shift that long-term rental for Colorado Springs, unless you put a large amount down.
Like what, 35, 40%?
Mm-hmm, you're not going to cash flow, just if you're financing, of course. So we've seen a lot of investors from both Denver and Colorado Springs look to Pueblo as an LTR market, which, including myself, because that is my strategy. I'm a long-term rental investor.
Because you have 2 rentals in Pueblo now?
I have one.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so, when we buy again, it will be down in Pueblo, because that's the strategy that I enjoy and I know. So, just kind of keep that in mind if you are a long-term rental investor, to really put that on your radar as a possibility. I think it's a very good option. Short-term rental, that's pretty much a no-go in Pueblo for most cases. There are a few exceptions. Colorado Springs, it's very, very difficult to have a non-owner occupied short-term rental. So, we kind of suggest people, maybe look elsewhere or, to a different strategy, or they want to move to a more friendly location, such as like Woodland Park. Leah has helped a couple people buy STRs in Woodland Park. So that is a less restrictive option for people.
And you guys may see on the internet or from old content from us, like I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, the short-term rental laws changed in Colorado Springs, where it used to be like incredibly friendly, and then the rules changed where now it's incredibly difficult.
Yes, it's very, very restrictive. And then medium-term rentals, that's something that we have been seeing a lot, as people that are interested in the short-term rental strategy, but understand that it's very restrictive situation in Colorado Springs. So a lot of people have looked to medium-term rental, and you're going to see a cash flow between, long-term rental and a short-term rental. It's medium, so kind of medium with the profit too. So that is an option. Just make sure that you're following all the rules with whatever jurisdictions over you, HOA, city, all that stuff.
And a couple comments in here. So Sarah just chimed in saying she just started her first medium-term rental. Love it over the short-term rental market to overcome city regs. Congrats, Sarah. Listen to what market that is. We are curious. And she also posted, she said she believes Woodland Park just added new restrictions to short-term rentals.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I got to catch up on that.
And again, same thing, like whatever we tell you here, like whether it's about, taxes or insurance or short-term regulations, we are not the authority.
Yeah.
We're not your CPA. We're not the short-term rental expert in every market. Always double check as part of your due diligence for any market and any jurisdiction you're in. We'll give you the best advice we know. But things change.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Sarah said she's in the Springs for MTR. Awesome,
cool.
Sarah.
Yeah, very cool. And then room by room, that has been the best option for people, in my opinion, that want cash flow, want Colorado Springs, and don't mind management. So if you kind of fit into all three of those, that is a fantastic option. And we're going to go into a house hack room by room rental in one of the examples.
And that's what we're seeing. That's just the reality of as prices have gone up and then stayed up and interest rates have tripled. Like it's just made cash flow harder. So you either have to put more money down, shift from Springs to Pueblo, or move to a more creative strategy like a room by room or a medium term rental market out there. So again, we view our role as to say, hey, we cannot change the market. And oh my gosh, Jen and I both wish we had a magic wand to change the market, but we unfortunately don't. We are just reporting what we see works in the market so you guys can make the right decisions.
Yeah.
So question from Susan Jenny. She goes, curious why short-term rentals are pretty much a no-go in Pueblo.
So same idea with the restrictions aspect, but we have also found, I don't know, 0 managers down there. So unless yeah. So I would say there are some, but after calling them, I don't know, I wasn't super enthusiastic about it. So
is it that you said the regulations are pretty tough?
Very
too?
tough. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if anyone knows any great management companies that could then open the door for Denver and Colorado Springs investors to consider and would have knowledge over the regulations and whatnot down there, let us know. So
great question, Susan. And ladies and gentlemen, keep the questions and comments coming. We love it.
So then house hacking, tried and true, still works in Colorado Springs. So that's pretty much all I have to say on that. Please let us know if you're interested in this concept. I think it's a fantastic strategy.
What is house hacking?
House hacking is a myriad of options of using the house that you live in to generate income to either subsidize or totally cover your housing expense. And then sometimes you turn it into a nomad, which is then when you move out of the house, live somewhere else, and then you've turned that into a rental property. So we'll kind of dive into that specifically with a specific example with one of our deals that we have. But I mean, there's just a ton of different optionality for this. So.
And it works so well because, you're putting down 5%. You get a better interest rate. So for anyone out there that can live in a property for a year and then, move out, it's an amazing strategy to get some great deals. And also just you get great leverage with very little capital outlay.
And for those STR loving people, there's typically less restriction on an owner occupied home for STRs. So
while you're living there.
When you move out, you have to figure out a different option for that. But some people live there a long time.
Oh,
and yeah. So then they save up their money for the next house and kind of go from there. So yeah, definitely reach out to us if you want a consultation. We can, devise an investment plan for you, do property llama analysis for your portfolio.
Yeah.
Like there's, just giving feedback and thought points for people. And then people, tend to marinate on it and come back and be like, yeah, we heard this option, but I think that this actually works better for me. And it's kind of just a give and take. And I think it helps a lot of people. So
yeah, and I would encourage anyone who has interest, any high level interest in investing, Springs or Pueblo, reach out to us, go to the website, scan the QR code, and the consultation. Like we definitely take a consultative approach to helping our clients, and we're investors ourselves. We're dealing with tenants. We're placing our own capital, so we're in the trenches with you out there. And whether you're a brand new investor, or have a first property or a portfolio of 10 properties, we have some services that can help you analyze. Hey, you're a new investor. What's your strategy? Oh, you have 10 properties. Let's load those into Property Llama, which is our software that helps you analyze your portfolio and also see what potential opportunities and play around some fun. Oh, what if I sold this and did this scenarios to help you guys do some high level modeling? So if you have any interest, please don't hesitate to reach out.
So let's go into the actual markets that we're going to discuss. So I would say Pueblo is the most mysterious of the two markets, that a lot of people will come and they'll just say, I've never been to Pueblo. I've heard about it. I don't know anything about it. What's going on there? So just kind of wanted to shine a light on it, and just kind of give people basic understanding of the market itself. But we really recommend that you just, if you're Colorado based, to just spend the day and go down there and get lunch, around the Riverwalk. I was telling Coast earlier that now they have a food market down there, so it's getting pretty trendy. So yeah, it's just, I really suggest that you spend that day and really kind of just see what the city has, because it's a legitimate city.
Funny story. I think it was 5 years ago, it had to be 2018, like December 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 years ago, because it was right before Charles stepped away. So 5 years ago, ICOR, a local real estate investing association, got a big 50-person charter bus tour for people in Denver and Springs to go spend the day to see the city. I think we walked 6 properties.
Yeah.
And that's the first time you and I met, Jenny.
Yep, that was our meeting point.
Yeah. So I agree with Jenny. Go check it out. And if you want more details on Pueblo, if you're listening to this, check the show notes, or definitely ping Jenny or Leah. They do a great job on the Southern Colorado Real Estate Investing podcast, talking about the market and kind of giving some audio tours of the market and some what's going on down there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have enough interest, maybe we can just go do a happy hour down there one day as well, or kind of do a more informal tour as well. So yeah, drop in the comments for more details on there, and we can follow up with specific information on Pueblo and or Springs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to kind of add on that, I know, well, you might have to fill in the blanks for the Fort Collins, Northern Colorado piece of it, but the way that we kind of see it is a spectrum along I-25. Pueblo, you're going to get more cash flow, a little less appreciation. Springs, somewhere in the middle, and then the opposite up for Denver. So it's just kind of it's nice because you can figure out what your goals are, and you can kind of put your market based on that as well. So just to kind of go over some of the real estate trends that we've been seeing is that Pueblo is kind of holding steady, and that's kind of what we've been seeing with this market in particular. Just that from Q1 of 2023 versus 2022, they're up about 4%, which is actually better than Colorado Springs.
I was just about to say that is better than I expected.
Yeah. So they're just holding steady, and I think as an investor, yes, appreciation's great, but great appreciation's great, but also just a slow and steady property is good too, if I can get some cash flow out of it.
Oh yeah. You build wealth over 5, 10, 15
30
years, not over 5 months.
Yeah, exactly. So while my Colorado Springs properties have taken off in value, it's this is still a really good option. I'll take 4% a year. That's great.
Oh yeah. Especially the last year.
Yeah. So, just kind of wanted to highlight that a little bit, and just, Pueblo has kind of done a great turnaround over the last couple of years.
So Carrie posted a comment here saying she has an off-market duplex in Pueblo and looking for places to market it with tenants in place. Carrie, do me a huge favor. Don't email it to me, but email it to Jenny.
Yep.
Jenny at envisionrea.com. And can you type in her email into the comments, Jules? Thanks. And she can help, take a look at it. We got a bunch of clients looking.
Yeah.
We also have a fairly big email distribution list too that we can blast that to as well.
Yeah.
It's a good deal. We want to see it and we want to put a deal together with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I kind of look at some different things when I'm evaluating a market to invest in. I did the same thing 5 years ago. I don't know, what was it, 6 years ago now that I started investing in Colorado Springs, when everyone told me I was weird for doing that. I'm like, well, I think looking at the same thing, I think makes sense. So I always like to look at how affordable are the rents in a certain market. Also comparing it to, is the population actually growing? So kind of skipping to the punchline, the easy one to talk about is the population growing in Pueblo? Yes. So between Colorado Springs and Pueblo, from the year 2000 to 2021, Colorado Springs basically increased by about almost 50%. That's crazy. That's very, very high.
So about what, 550 to about 760?
Yeah. So, but then, Pueblo, it only increased by 30,000 people. So from 141,000 people to about 170,000 people. That's not an explosive growth, but it is good. I think that's what I'm looking for in a market, is that it's on the upward trajectory. So as long as it keeps growing steadily, I think that's something to say. And then also the fact that Colorado Springs is growing so fast, we're kind of running out of houses for people. Pueblo is a very good option for Colorado Springs commuters as well, especially if you work on the south side of the city. It's 40-minute drive from the north part of Pueblo. So
well, I think with obviously the COVID shifts and all, and prices gone, I think there's been hey, more people in Denver with jobs in Denver moved to Springs, and more people with jobs in Springs have moved to Pueblo, right? We've seen more migration because you can get a lot of times a better quality life and a better home, or a home for less cost.
Yeah, something you and I are familiar with, having been in the DC area, seeing how it kind of pushes down south. It's very reminiscent to me. I don't know if you feel the same way, but
oh yeah,
yeah. So that's a good trend right there. And then also, how affordable are the rents in Pueblo? So I like to look at kind of the rent growth, but then also how people that live there are able to keep up with the rent growth. So median rents, just from 2015 to 2022, Colorado Springs, it went from a 2-bedroom home, $924 a month in rent there, to last September it was $1,456, and then when we see on the next page is about 16 something for this year, which is wild to me. Pueblo went from 653 to about 1174 in 2022.
Wow, it almost doubled, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know the rent growth was that big.
Yeah. So people are always shocked. So I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2.5-bath home in Pueblo. I'm getting $1,500 a month in rent, and it was rented before it was even listed.
Yeah, you had a lot of demand for that.
Yeah. So it's a very nice house, $1,500 a month for a 3-bedroom, which I think that's really good.
Yeah.
So Pueblo, yeah, like we mentioned. So compare it to the monthly income of the average, person in that city. So for Colorado Springs, we see from 2015 to 2020, the rental percentage to monthly income go from about 24.7% to 27.54%. Whereas in Pueblo, it went from 22% to about 24%. So that shows me that there's actually a lesser burden that the rent is causing for a person in Pueblo than it is for Colorado Springs. If we just take, completely the average, just to kind of, show a general point here. So that is, good for people that are looking to cost save, I think. Just kind of wanted to highlight that. If it were any, above 30, that's kind of where I start to feel a little worried, 30%.
So I'm looking at the comments here. We've got a couple people pinging us saying they'd be interested in the off-market duplex. Absolutely. Once we get that from Carrie, we will. Well, first, Jenny, we'll check it out to always run the numbers, and then we'll pass along. So if anyone has interest, drop a comment into here, or just shoot Jenny an email afterwards, and her or Leah could help you out.
So then, we kind of went into the numerical piece of Pueblo, but people also want to know what is actually happening in the city. Like, what does it have going for it? So one thing that is kind of Colorado specific yet important is the water situation. So Pueblo City actually has an abundance of water. Like we mentioned, there's about 170,000 people that are there, but they have enough water for a population of 500,000.
Wow.
So that's really
So is that actually just like kudos to the government for like proper planning?
Yeah. Yeah, because
I wish more places did that.
It's a constraint everywhere else. So I think it's like, wow, like that's really good. So, if we start kind of, I don't know, running out of water elsewhere, we don't need to get into all that. I think Pueblo has an advantage right there because everybody needs water. So
are you selling any like doomsday houses for people to go to for water runs out, like when Mad Max happens?
Oh yeah, we should yeah, do that. Have like a bunker house or something. Pueblo West though had bit of a water issue, just in the sense that they kind of froze taps to reevaluate
new taps.
Yeah, on new builds, to see like, hey, are we actually planning properly? So there's a big news article about that, I think like a year and a half ago. So if you're interested in that, check that out. And then so it makes a great place for new builds in that sense. And then they're also working on some public policies that I think impact house investors. So, at one time, 7% of all housing in Pueblo was vacant, which is wild to me that there's that many vacant homes. So the city actually created a vacant house registry, and the police department started fining people that had run down vacant homes. So that kind of incentivized those sellers like, hey, I either need to fix up this home or I need to sell it. So
they were getting fined for a vacant house?
Yep. So I've actually seen a few, like if you go if you go to a property that's, say it's been flipped or something, sometimes it'll have a vacant like sign on the window, like a warning, but it's like, yeah, you can just call them and be like, I'm taking action to sell it. But they're serious about it. So
that's an interesting policy, but I guess.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep. So I think it's good, either find them to take action one way or the other. You can either fix it up and put it as a rental, move back into it, or get rid of it and sell it, so that someone else can fix it up and someone can live in it. So decreasing the number of vacant homes, we think is going to boost the real estate market because, it's more options for people to actually move into a nice fixed up home. And then Pueblo is actively trying to get more businesses down there. So they've done it so that there's one municipal building that you can do a one-stop shop for all your new business registrations, and then they're starting to try to shift it to online. So I think that's kind of neat too, to attract people there.
So, I mean, I was one of these people years ago until we did the bus tour. Like, sometimes people have a certain view of Pueblo. Like, hey, that's not a great market to invest in, or whatever it is, or misconceptions about it.
Yeah.
What would you answer someone like me? In addition to these points, like overall, like Pueblo, it's probably a market with a lot of misconceptions around it.
I do. I really think so. And I said, I think that just going there, like, you might have a vision of it in your head, but actually just go there and spend an afternoon down there. And I think that I think most of it will be dispelled.
Yeah.
So, and then kind of along the same lines of the actual, being able to register your business and whatnot, they actually have a Pueblo Economic Development Corporation that is renewed via sales tax, and it actually helps to set up businesses and incentivizes them for staying in the area and hiring local. So I think that's really interesting. And then they also offer tax incentives for buying certain properties. So you can actually go into the Timecodes and look at, have listed there. They're generally commercial, so only if you have a business this makes sense, but it's interesting that they're incentivizing, like, say you have something that requires a warehouse or a car shop or something, you can actually buy the building through the Pedco and they'll give you an incentive for it. So
Really?
yeah, so they're really trying to get people to have maybe their physical businesses. Obviously online businesses are different.
I mean, I love it when places, communities and areas, they invest to make it more attractive. They invest to retain people. They invest to recruit talent. Like that's a very good sign.
Yeah, I mean, you need it. Yeah, absolutely, to get something up and running, I think. And then they're also offering incentives to energy companies. I'm sure that everyone's kind of heard about, they're closing down the plants down there. So they're trying to offer, that's those employees, their skills, their trades. Why not have another energy type company come in and employ them once their plants get shut down. And then, kind of as I mentioned, I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised when you go down there. Downtown is really, really cool. It's really up and coming. Water Tower Place is a great example. They revitalized this old building. Now it's mixed use, office, retail, food. The Holmes Hardware is, I actually think it was a Denver developer that did the Holmes Hardware, but they actually put a food hall on the first floor, and then they put affordable housing apartments on top. So it's really neat. And then just check out Pedco to see more projects.
Was this the group that you did the podcast with like a year or two ago?
Yeah, they were they weren't the Pedco. They were
they had different names.
Yeah,
right?
Pueblo.
Like Pueblo 17 or
I feel bad I'm blanking on their name, but they were a great group.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great podcast because I realized if you guys want that, ping us. Or I think it's probably about a year or two ago, but it was that was one of the things where I was like, wow, it changed my perception of Pueblo.
Yeah, they're really actively helping their city. So I love it.
So before we move on to Springs, if you guys have any questions on Pueblo, let us know. Joe just asked a question saying, will those plant layoffs affect the rental market or affect the housing market?
I don't know. I don't have enough information as to how many employees are actually affected in which time frames and whatnot, and what their absorption into new employment would be. I don't have enough info on that.
But as far as everything I mean, if you have $100,000 to invest, Pueblo's the first place you're looking towards.
Yeah. Because, for me, since I'm a long-term rental investor,
I mean, if you're going to be a long-term investor, you want to make sure the market's either growing or shrinking, and it's hard to build wealth when the market is shrinking with jobs and growth, or jobs and population.
Yeah. We also, another plug we'll have to put in the show notes is we recently recorded, maybe a month or so ago, a group podcast with investors that have invested in Pueblo, our clients over the last year and a half, I would say, just kind of giving their pros and cons that they've experienced personally, and just their experience as Pueblo investors and also property managers down there. So I think that would also kind of give everyone a good taste as to how investing in Pueblo is. So good to move on to Colorado Springs.
Yes. Okay. If you guys have any other questions as it comes up, just keep dropping them in there.
Yeah.
This is great. So thank you guys.
Yeah. So I think Colorado Springs is everyone pretty much knows if you're local to Colorado, I would say. There's tons of military bases. We got Peterson, Schriever, Fort Carson, the U.S. Air Force Academy. A lot of those places have very limited on-base housing. And this presents an opportunity to provide rental housing to military members, because a lot of the times they don't want to buy necessarily, buying.
No, they're there for a couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the government's paying for it.
Yep. And they're usually new into the military. So they're in the process of, making their own savings and everything. So yeah, I think that is, one key piece right there. Which is funny because everyone always asks me, well, how many of your tenants are military? And I'm like, only a few, actually. I think, 1 to 3 at any given time out of my whole portfolio, I would say, out of 18 units. So it's not a huge number, I don't think.
Well, plus they just, I think a couple of weeks ago, they announced that Space Force is staying there, which is, great for military, but just the industrial complex that supports it. I mean, that's going to be massive
it's
for
huge.
Jobs and, high tech and high paying jobs.
Yes, like especially government contractors. Like, yeah, that was a pretty huge win for the city, I feel like. And then over the past couple of years, a lot of commercial companies have started coming into Colorado Springs. Specifically, I would say in the tech industry, and then also tourism. So we have a lot of natural attractions to the city itself: Pikes Peak, Garden of the Gods, parks, trails. I have spoken to quite a few people. This is just anecdotally, but they went to Colorado Springs on vacation and then decided they wanted to move there, or something along those lines. So have a second home there.
I've also noticed, just like with a lot of the people we talked to from the website and the podcast, a lot of out of state people moving. For years it was out of state to Denver, and the last 2 or 3 years, I've seen a lot more out of state now to Springs, and not Denver. It's been a very interesting shift in people's interesting. It's been for quality of life, the outdoors down there, and just
price.
You can buy more down there.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I just kind of wanted to highlight some very recent key wins for the city. Other than the Space Force, I think maybe when I was doing this, I don't even think Space Force was officially announced when I was creating this PowerPoint. So in 2022, the Colorado Springs Chamber closed on 10 projects that created 2,060 jobs and $750 million in capital investments for the region.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they also launched the Deal Closing Fund in 2022, which used $2.5 million of the fund to create 1,300 jobs and $122 million in payroll. And then this is a very interesting challenge. There's half a person to every one job opening.
What is the unemployment rate down? That's got to be, I guess, below national average.
Yes, it's very, very low. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting little tidbit that I read. And I have the article there for anyone who wants to go there and read the full article as to kind of what's going on.
So if you guys in the comments, Jules was posting a few links to some Pueblo resources. And then Carrie asked a question for Colorado Springs. Are there investors who are higher spending? If you can clarify that question, Carrie, I don't quite understand it, but yeah, clarify. We'll answer that back in a minute.
Yeah, so just some general real estate trends again. We're kind of just hovering, I would say, between last year and this year. As you can see, there's been huge growth over the past several years. But Q2 2023 versus 2022, we're at minus 3% year over year average home price for homes, and then plus 3% for condos. So
I mean, this is again, that's a pretty small change, especially with a couple of years of double digit. But I've been amazed this last year that Pueblo has been a more stable and still growing market compared to Springs. That is not what I would have thunk.
I think that it's just the type of industry and the hype around it kind of lends itself to just being a steady Eddie type of market, as opposed to Colorado Springs. Like you said, there's this huge rush on it, over COVID, and especially during COVID when people could work remote. They wanted to, live out here because why not?
Or they have to drive in Denver 3 times a month.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah. Anyone can do that, So yeah, I think those kind of all lend itself to that. Most seem to be under 500. Have a listing at 890. That would be an amazing property to do a bit of work and house hack. It has 2 separate entrance living areas, over 6,000 feet on top of Monument Hill. So I would say in terms of Envision clients, we don't get a lot of people doing that sort of a deal, whereas I have, through Property Llama conversations, I have met a couple people that have luxury type properties. There's one lady that lives in Black Forest, and she has a luxury home that she does meditation retreats on and everything. So, that's not to say that it's not possible. It's just those of our clients that are looking to spend a bit more tend to just kind of go more traditional and just do multifamily. So that would be my experience in that.
Sorry, I screwed up your slides there.
Yeah, no worries. And then these are just the income property trends that we've been seeing since, the the audience is investors, so they're probably curious for 2 or more units, what we're kind of seeing down there. And then the average price per unit has gone up year over year, Q2 2023 versus 2022, 11%. So there's still growth.
So multifamily is growing more than the houses down there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's different clientele, because we have, a lot of homeowners that are possibly more impacted by the rate change, whereas investors are investors. I feel like. I'm
just surprised to see double-digit growth this last year.
Yeah, they're definitely, like, observationally, they're definitely on for much longer. It takes back, a year and a half ago, you put a fourplex on 800,000, it's gone in the weekend. You can't even see it until inspection time. So, they're definitely on for much longer, and people kind of have to actually, if you're a listing agent, work very hard to, show it at its best. But very strong. And something interesting is that 2 beds average rent is now $1,645. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. When I first started buying in 2016, 2017, 2 beds were $1,150, $1,200 at the most. So that's phenomenal growth in the rentals right there. So, and then, I just wanted to highlight that we kind of discussed the average rent rates, city wage data, and population with the Pueblo. So we don't have to kind of dig back into that.
And before getting the deals on here, for those live on the webinar, Jules shared the handout a few minutes ago. You can download the PDF for the slide deck with a lot of the data. If you listen to the recording, the show notes should have a link on there. And if you want more trends data as well, we've got a lot more. We are just kind of providing you the executive summary on data. And plus, you can download these 3 deals that James will walk us through as well.
Yeah. So, first deal. This is probably one of my favorite properties all year, maybe. I don't know. I always say that, and then one trumps it. But so this is probably one of my favorite properties. I would say, I wouldn't even say, sorry, Leah, but I wouldn't even say that Leah found it on the MLS, because the buyer actually texted her about it 1 minute after it was posted, and texted her 2 minutes after it was posted, hey, I want this property. So he was very very good about monitoring it. I loved it. So I can't even give her credit for that one. So on the MLS, and it was located just outside the Mesa Junction neighborhood, which is just a gorgeous neighborhood. It has very Victorian homes, but this one was built in the 1990s.
So it's a pretty new one.
I love the juxtaposition with this, meaning that one has probably, hopefully, less maintenance than some, historical home, but it's nestled in between. You kind of get the best of both worlds. You have that lovely neighborhood feel, but you hopefully have a better maintained home.
Oh no, that's great. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of buying 100-year homes myself. And part of that too is I'm a hands-off investor. But something that's, 1990s, that's still 30 years old. I mean, that's still relatively new for real estate.
I hope that it's not considered old. So the client is getting 3 sources of income on this property, actually. So they have it's a duplex, so 2 units, and then they also have a detached garage. So that is pretty cool, I think. So this is one of the best performing long-term rentals. It was a multiple offer situation. Definitely listen to our podcast where we go into detail on this, so you can kind of hear more about how Leah was able to get it under contract and what negotiating points she used. But I think that this is just a perfect example of don't let the interest rates deter you, because it's still a great deal, and he's doing phenomenal on it. So investor profile, first-time investor, his strategy is to cash flow with the intent to accumulate properties over the next couple of years. And then, based on capital for himself to invest, he was interested in Pueblo because, I think he spoke to Denver first and didn't quite match what he was looking for. Then, he spoke to us, and Colorado Springs, not quite. Pueblo fit the box for him. So, he went to Pueblo actively. So basically, it matched all of those things for capital outlay, cash flow opportunity, and lower price point. And then he actually ended up partnering on this deal because he shopped it around, and hey, guess what? Everyone else saw that it was a good deal. So someone else joined in and was the capital partner on this. So now he has more capital left over he's shopping now, I believe. And he didn't want to self-manage, so he hired a property manager. So kind of go over this real quick. This is the general location that it's located. As you can see, there's some great attributes to it. It's near the Arkansas Riverwalk. It's near Pueblo Community College. So I mean, it's nestled in a pretty great area. Mesa Junction, 3-bed, 1-bath unit, and then a 2-bath, 1-bath unit, and they each have an attached garage space, and then also the detached one that I mentioned earlier. And then the list price was $250,000. They needed $20,000 to, initially to replace the deck and the stairs because it was a safety hazard. No concessions, and then they ended up buying it for $255,000. So why we like this deal is 8.2% cap rate on a long-term rental.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't see those numbers. Well, I mean, you see those numbers rarely now, I should say.
Yeah, and for $255,000, that's not out of reach for most people. So cash return is estimated at 7.6% with PMs in place. It's a newer build, so let's hope that means less capex. And then it's near the Riverwalk area, which I don't want to speculate, but if we had to make, a general assumption, I would imagine that would cause better appreciation than most other areas. So that's that one in a nutshell. I really like this property. So just kind of going into some of the more detail, we won't spend too much time on this, but he's out of pocket $93,000 for this property. He's expected to cash flow just shy of $600, factoring in his contingencies for this. So yeah, pretty good, I would say.
So here, I mean, these are all just some screenshots from Property Llama. I want to kind of give you guys just some quick visualizations on here, but here you see, a cap rate north of 8% and a cash on cash at about 8% as well. Do you recall what the interest rate was on here approximately?
I think it was 7.5%.
Okay. So I mean, it was a recent higher rate one.
Yeah, very down the middle of what we're seeing for investors.
So we're showing you deals that are happening today, not 3 years ago when rates were 3.5%. Just want to point it out that, hey, we're investing today. So Carrie has a question saying, would you talk a bit about how they partnered up to buy the property?
Yeah, so I actually don't know the specifics of how they did it. I think they used a conventional mortgage, so I'm not really sure how they structured it. I think they were both just listed on title and on the note. So I think it was just a 50-50 was my basic understanding. But I believe they met each other through a real estate meetup. I have been hearing a couple of our clients that have met each other through meetups, just doing what everyone on Bigger Pockets has to do. I'm looking for this.
Go network.
Yeah. Tell people what it is that you want. And I think that's what he did.
Right. Go network and tell people what you want to do.
Oh, thanks, Leah. Conventional, friend in New York, 50-50. Okay. Maybe that wasn't the meetup then. I know he was shopping at meetups though, okay. But yeah, so 50-50 conventional mortgage. Yeah, pretty straightforward. So if you have a friend that lives in New York or LA or somewhere expensive and they want to buy a rental property, although he has a property manager locally, he's still semi-local. He lives in Denver. So, he can really check on it and see if, things are going according to plan. The house is still standing and all that.
Now, here's a question I know we get sometimes like, oh, hey, this sounds great. Can you guys help me find a partner?
No.
No, we don't do that. We'll help you find deals. We facilitate meetups and happy hours, to network and do all that stuff. But as far as like connecting partnerships, there's a lot more human element to there, and we don't want to be involved because partnerships are great until they're not great.
Yes, and we don't want to be privy to any of that. So
be privy or also get the finger pointed at us.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So this is deal number 2. This is a room-by-room house hack in Colorado Springs. So this couple there, this is house hack number 2 for them. They did it like one day after house hack number 1, which I love. Very efficient. So
this is the couple that moved in front of state last year, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So it's a single family home located in the Cimarron Hills neighborhood. it's a 3-bed, 3-bath, and their plan is to add 2 bedrooms to it. So this couple is great about seeing like potential in a property, which I always love. And then so currently it's a room by room rental property, and so they're new investors. They are new to having a job. I absolutely love their strategy. I think this is fantastic. They are using, what the market, what the city is giving them, and they're squeezing every last penny out of it and doing a fantastic job. And they've become very, very proficient in the management of a room by room rental, which is not easy. So I just love what they're doing. They got a pretty high interest rate for owner occupied. I don't know if it's listed in here, but I think it was like 6.75. So that didn't deter them. They did put a low down payment, I think 5%. And it's a future cash flow property after they move out. So again, they're taking what they're being given and figuring out a way to make it work, instead of just saying, oh, I can't make it work, it doesn't work.
And for the room by room stuff, a lot of people want to look for value add or BRRRR properties, and there's definitely some out there. But if you're looking for those types of properties, put room by room on your radar as well.
Yeah,
I mean, this strategy we've seen the last couple of years, I mean, in up north and Denver and Springs and Pueblo, is a very great strategy. A lot of people don't talk about.
Yeah,
but it's up there with like the value add, the BRRRRs, to go in there and just, hey, do some work and increase the value, and a lot of times increase the cash flow.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Back when BRRRRs were more prevalent, at least in Colorado Springs when I was doing them, 5-6 years ago, when BRRRRs were prevalent, I had to put in a lot of effort to make a BRRRR work, whether it be, actually doing work on the property, which wasn't a good idea, managing people doing work on the property, figuring out all the financing pieces.
Well, you're doing construction.
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
And you're juggling 2 or 3 financing components.
Yeah. So it's like, that is a ton of effort. Room by room probably is an equivalent effort, just in a different form, is kind of how I see it. And that's kind of what works today. So, you might find a 5-bedroom home and you might not have to do anything to outfit it, but the management piece is, going to be just more spread out than opposed to like over a 3-month cram session that I was doing with the BRRRR. So just kind of wanted, people that want BRRRRs, is like, that's, great. They're just not as prevalent right now. They might not be, my favorite strategy at the moment, just due to all the, things that are in flux. But if you are willing to put in the effort, why don't you consider doing a room by room and just focusing your effort on managing it? So that's just my 2 cents on that. So this is, again, his second house hack. I mentioned that. And then he plans to keep house hacking every year until it's no longer enjoyable. And he just closed last week on a non-house hack room by room rental with a partner within the Envision ecosystem. So again, we didn't put them together. They found each other. Cool. So yeah, I think his goal is to beat Jeff's record of house hacking. So.
Jeff's is under contract, and I think number 8 right now.
Okay, right? You hear that?
It might be 8 or 9. I know he just went under contract a week or 2 ago. And so Leah says those two, they're the ones that met at the meetup.
Okay.
And what this couple is doing, if I had a time machine to go back, or if I was 22 in this market, what this couple is doing of house hacking and the room by room stuff, that is what I'd be doing now.
They're just so impressive.
These guys are crushing it.
Yeah, I love it.
Couple of questions on here. Actually, 2 people asking about, does the house hacking book go into the room by room strategy? It talks about from a high level. But what we actually published, I think, about a year ago, if you go to denverinvestmentrealestate.com, we can probably drop a link into there as well. We have a course on the website, a step-by-step course for actually how to do a room by room rental and self-manage. And it's actually done by Jeff White, who's done a lot of it. He kind of goes all through his checklist. We have a lease we use as well with an addendum. You can that's all part of the course. So the book goes in the high level of it, but if you really want the detailed strategy, go to the website. It's usually like $50, $100. So I would recommend go grab that course for like the detailed of it. It is amazing. And it's here in Colorado, just a Denver-based room by room house hacker, but it's a lot of similarities up and down the Front Range.
Yeah, there's just nuances and municipality rules, like stuff like that. But yeah, generally speaking, It's a very management heavy strategy. So yeah, master that piece of it. So just, general location, I mentioned it was in Cimarron. It's a 3-bed, 3-bath, and going to add 2 bedrooms to it. List price was $435,000. They needed $15,000 to outfit it to the way that they needed to. They were able to negotiate a $12,000 concession, and they ended up closing at $430,000 on it with the $12,000, but adding back $15,000 for improvements needed to get it up and running. So while they're living there, they're only paying $550 a month to live there, and their cheapest room is renting at $750, which is
that's the cheapest room.
That's the cheapest room. So they couldn't even
Denver numbers there.
Yeah, they wouldn't even be paying market rate for their place. So yeah, that's pretty much standard there is $750 for most parts of the city, which I think is interesting.
That's higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah, so they're actually going to rent out the master at $900. So estimated to be an 8 cap at move out, and with $1,600 in yearly cash flow with 5% down and almost 7% interest rate. So they're not even subsidizing their cash flow with higher percent down. So I just kind of want to let people simmer on that for a moment, just because that is really, really good. They have a lot of things actively working against them, and they're still cash flowing. And this property is eligible for a STR license as non-owner occupied. So they have optionality.
That's a nice little cherry on top.
Yeah, why not, right? So just kind of, again, going through the details on it. This is after move out. Again, 4 bedrooms at $750 with 1 at $900. And then, owner pays for all utilities and whatnot. So they're going to hopefully cash flow about $140 a month on that after they move out. And they're all in for $43,000. So that's pretty good. And then, so again, it's about an 8% cap rate. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say?
I want to point out here, it's a little hard to see, but we added a couple of screenshots from Property Llama on here. So on that very left one, we have an annual return breakdown that shows the 4 ways to make money: the appreciation, debt pay down, cash flow, and depreciation. And we put that over you said $47,000 for all in cost.
Mm-hmm.
In year 1, they should make about 99% on their return on investment. And that is the power of house hacking with low down payment, and also the power of doing some creative strategies like room by room rentals.
Yeah.
So just want to highlight that on there. Of course, download the spreadsheet, download this deck and dig the numbers more. And of course, always do your due diligence. But you can just see like some phenomenal returns, especially from percent return rise. Like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah. So this one is a very recent deal. Is a duplex in Pueblo West, and I'm excited to talk about it because it's a DSCR loan.
What is a DSCR loan, Jenny?
Debt service coverage ratio loan.
Say that 5 times fast.
So basically what this is the lender is going to lend based off of the asset, not the person. So this kind of allows for some of those partnership structures within a business entity. Someone who might not necessarily be lendable as a person.
Like investors, or real estate agents,
if you're full-time,
or self-employed.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that this is a very good option for people that don't quite fit in that conventional box. And it was kind of like not spoken about a lot over the last couple of years because everyone wanted a conventional loan.
Well, they didn't make sense.
Yeah. It's like almost hard money rates for the DSCR loan. Now they're really comparable, which is just fascinating to me.
I'm reading your slide here. Investor use a high interest rate DSCR loan 8%.
Yes.
It's not that high anymore compared to
7.5
at 30-year conventional.
Yep. So this investor, they wanted to use a DSCR loan. I don't even know the reason. I think she just didn't even want to do all the rigmarole for a conventional mortgage, signing your life away and all that stuff. So do the DSCR loan on that. And she's expected to cash flow over $200 a month with PM in place.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, this is, it's a 3-bed, 2-bath, very nicely updated. I think it was built in the 2000s. Let me check actually. Did I write it in here? No, I think it was built in the early 2000s.
So pretty new.
Again, a new one. So she owns several other rental properties. This is her first one in Pueblo. She didn't want to self-manage. She hired a property manager. She plans to purchase an additional property this year. So she's heavily leaning towards Pueblo because it's giving her what she wants. And then again, this one was found via networking within the Envision ecosystem. So just kind of wanted to highlight that. It never hit the MLS. Again, duplex side by side, townhome style, 3-bed, 2-bath with garages. Let's see, no purchase improvements needed, no concessions, no list price since it was off market. They ended up closing on it for $420,000. Is a 6.8% cap rate on a long-term rental, $200 a month in cash flow anticipated. And then she's just going to keep an eye. So clearly it works as is. It's cash flowing as it stands. And then she's going to work to keep an eye to see if rates come down and refi it if that's an option. So, but if not, it's still fine. I was wrong. It's a 1994 build, which is still pretty new. And then it's in Pueblo West, which also comes with a huge lot. So it's for, people that want a little bit more space. I think that this is a really good option. So again, she's expected to cash flow, given our contingencies that we baked in.
What percent down they do?
30%.
30%. So I'm amazed this. A 30% down payment on a duplex at a DSCR loan is cash flowing $200 plus a month.
Mm-hmm.
That is very surprising to me.
Yeah.
Because I just, just kind of reprogram my last couple of years of deals. It's like, that's great.
Yeah. And she didn't have to put any money to get it rent ready. So that's a plus too.
So it's turnkey.
Turnkey. Yep. So she just has to get tenants in it. We were thinking $1,700 a month in rent, but I think that's pretty conservative actually. I think in reality she'll get more.
Oh, so even a little rent bump on there as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, hope so.
Yeah. So again, just kind of, that holistic approach, about 6.8 cap rate. She's getting a 16% return on equity. Your rule of thumb is beat the stock market.
That's my personal rule of thumb.
Yeah.
If I can't beat the stock market or beat what a CD is paying now,
yeah.
I mean, why am I going to deal with the risk, the headache, the liability of a rental property?
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, a 16% plus overall return is pretty damn good.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that this is just a great set it and forget it. I love the fact that it is fairly new. Again, hopefully a little bit lower in CapEx on that, $200 a month cash flow. So yeah, I think that's pretty standard. So again, reach out to us if you want to kind of talk about some of these deals specifically or your own personal goals, and we can hopefully help out on that.
Jenny, thank you so much for putting the slide together, gathering data, gathering the deals, and also just, being in the trenches down there and being a news reporter. So this was awesome. Thank you. Anyone out there, I will totally echo what Jenny said. If you guys have any questions on the market, please just schedule a call. You can go to the Denver Investment Real Estate website and click on there. You can also email Jenny and EnvisionREA and .com and she'll get you hooked up there. Like I said, we love talking to people to help them figure out their strategy. We love talking to people, help put deals together. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the whole reason we do this, is to connect investors with deals and help people achieve their goals through real estate investing. And if you have questions in other markets, Denver or Fort Collins or Greeley, or you're in the market and want to know more, please reach out to us. We are up and down the whole Front Range. Can't help you with out-of-state stuff, but if you're in Colorado, our goal here is to be like your one-stop shop with the best resources and the best brokers to help you go out there and execute your strategy. So everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll have a bunch of links in the show notes for you guys. And Jenny, again, thanks to you and Leah for putting this together.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
All right, everyone. We'll see you soon.